It is now my pleasure to invite to the podium to join with me Dr. Charles Deirdrick, our Executive Director of the Council, Dr. Lorna Lewis, Superintendent of the Malvern Union Free School District, and Robert Lully, Executive Director of the New York Schools Insurance Reciprocal. As they join me to the stage, I use this opportunity to really thank our signature partner, NYSER, not only for their sponsorship of this very, very special award, but NYSER has been a loyal partner and supporter of the Council for many, many years. There's nothing that we ask of them that they won't do for us. So thank you so much, Bob. And now I turn the microphone over to Dr. Lewis.
Thank you, Phyllis, and good afternoon, everyone. Hank Grishman, Superintendent of Jericho and Chair of the Distinguished Service Committee, apologized for not being with us today. We all know how much Hank loves Bill. He asked me, as a Distinguished Service Committee member, to present this award on his behalf. I'm honored to present the honor that the Council can bestow on the highest honor that the Council can bestow on a retired life member. This award is given in recognition of that one individual who has shown exemplary commitment to public education. I've known this person for a very long time. He hired me in 1987 and consider him to be the best in this profession. I also consider him a colleague, a mentor, and a friend. He has been a superintendent since 1986 and just retired from the superintendency in 2020, but he is still giving back to students in his new role. His career is vast, and here are some important highlights. He was recognized as a New York State Superintendent of the Year, the Council President during September 11, 2001, the tragedy giving us hope as we navigated the unknown. A president of the Nassau County School Superintendents Association, co-chair of NISCUS Curriculum Committee, highlighted as an Education Week's Leader to Learn From, recognized as a racial equity pioneer and as a visionary educator, an Erase Racism Avram Krasnoff Courage and Commitment Award recipient, honored as one of Long Island's top 60 over 60, listed as top 20 of the most influential Long Islanders, bestowed as an Educator of the Year by Hofstra University. He started in education in 1967 as a special education teacher and then became an associate professor in the Graduate School of Education, Department Special Education. He became a director of special ed in his school district and then held position in central office before being appointed as a superintendent in 1986. He holds a bachelor's degree in philosophy from St. Bernard College, a master's degree in special education from Fairfield University, and a doctorate in special education from Teachers College, Columbia University. During his 34 years as a superintendent in the same district, his mission was to remove gates and raise the bar for all students, enabling them to achieve their highest potential. He's continuing in that mission today. At this time, it is my pleasure to present the 2021 Distinguished Service Award to Dr. William Johnson, a remarkable leader who has given of himself well above and beyond, and for the extraordinary difference he has made in the lives of the students, family, and me, and all of his many colleagues. I invite Bill to the stage to receive this award and to say a few words.
Couldn't wait for this day to begin. this room, but I've got to tell you and admit, for once, I'm very nervous. I haven't done this in a while, and when I first heard it, thank you for that introduction, Lorna, I said, good God, is that me? Again, I began my career 54 years ago, and for 34 of those years I spent in working in a variety of different ways with Lorna Lewis. It was a privilege, Lorna, to work with you. You are just a consummate professional and a wonderful human being. Thank you so much for those very kind words. I'd like to begin with some thanks and recognitions of my own. First of all, I need to begin to emphasizing something about this award. This is not about me. This is about we. I'll come back to that later, but this is truly, I'll say it again, not about me, but about we in this room. I want to begin, speaking of we, thanking my wife, Mary Ann, who's been the anchor of my other life. She's been my wife for 54 years, and in all honesty, she should be standing at this podium, not me. She's the one who should be receiving this award, not me. So for distinguished service, my wife, Mary Ann, thank you. I am deeply indebted to the incredible work of this association, to Chuck, to Bob, to Teresa, and the entire team, who over the many years I was active as a member, providing the support and the guidance needed as a member of when I was there, the executive committee, as president of this association, as co-chair of the curriculum committee, as co-chair, or chair rather, of the State Aid Data Analysis Group, as chair of the Distinguished Service Committee, and finally as member of 2 of the governor's state aid commissions, the Salerno Commission in the 1980s and the ZARB in the mid-2000s. I would also like to thank the many professionals who served with me in Rockville Center and made this career really a possibility. Many of them, in fact, ascended to the superintendency, and 5 of them actually are in the room today: Lorna Lewis, Allison Brown, Vito D'Elia, Chris Pelletieri, and Pat Chris. And I thank you all for the honor and privilege of serving with you in Rockville Center. While this award is a professional honor, it is also very personal. It is the story of a life and career probably like most of yours. There are some seminal events, however, that I would like to share with you. You know, I think as youngsters, as young children, we all have the dream about our future. Mine focused on making a difference. However, I never as a child figured out what I would do with the rest of my life. Some things clearly pointed me in that direction. I'd like to share 1 or 2 of them with you today. I can remember, as it was yesterday, my parents asked me, as the eldest of 7 children, to sit in on a meeting with people from the neighborhood who had asked to meet with my parents. I was 14 at the time and had a severely handicapped brother, 9 years my junior. He had a condition called arthrogryposis, which meant his joints were backwards and he was very small and very visibly disabled. The neighbors came to tell my parents that because they did not want their children traumatized, they didn't want to see him on the sidewalks in the neighborhood. I started to cry. I wasn't sure why, but I cried. When they finally left, my mother turned and said to me, and I will never ever forget these words, "Bill, they don't love him because they don't know him." I learned a lesson that day, and the lesson I learned to live all of my career. I knew my job the next day, and in some strange way, the rest of my life. We had a little electric car. I put my brother on that car and marched him up and down the sidewalk in front of all those homes until my feet hurt. And guess what? They did get to know him and they did get to love him. In fact, he became a celebrity in the neighborhood. I also remember very vividly my first day as a special education teacher in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'd been hired on a temporary emergency permit to teach a group of then called moderately mentally retarded adolescents who were assigned to an elementary K-5 school. When I arrived in my classroom, I went first to my desk, where I found the files of 13 kids who were assigned to me, each with a single piece of paper in their file. And it had nothing more than a summary of how they did on their IQ test. I put them aside and went to the closets to open them. I did. There were 3 of them in the room, and in each of the 3 closets there wasn't a single piece of paper or a single book, but there were over 2,000 potholders. So much for the expectations for these kids and for me. It took a few months of teaching and learning about what they had to teach me about themselves, but I came to realize that so much more about them than was realized in that very first day with either the IQ or their potholders would suggest. They taught me a lesson again I never forgot. You cannot stand in judgment of a student until you have the opportunity to teach them and for them to benefit as a learner from you. 3 months after the school year began, I started a campaign with the special ed director to move those kids out of the building, put them in classes with kids their own age and in schools where they appropriately belonged. That came to fruition the next school year. 2 years later, I left Bridgeport, became an assistant professor of special education in the Grad School of Education at Fairfield University. Little did I know that I would spend the next 10 years preparing myself to become a director of special education in the Rockville Center Public Schools. From 1980 until 1986, I really had the privilege during those 6 years of holding literally every single position in central office. When I began as a superintendent in 1986, the very first opportunity I had to meet with the staff of the Rockville Center Schools, I wasn't sure what to say to them, but I wanted to make sure that what I said included everything that I had learned over the years and everything that was in my heart that I needed to share with them. And to my surprise, I was able to summarize it in 3 very simple words that I want us all to remember. All means all. That phrase was weaved into every opening day speech for the next 34 years. Its meaning changed over time, but during those years, we had some very real highlights that helped us understand what it could mean. We discovered during those years that tracking was antithetical to this thinking, so we detracked. We discovered in the mid-1990s that every 8th grade student should take algebra. They did and do. We discovered that every special education student in that district should be educated in a regular class. They are. And we also discovered that every child in that school district should have the opportunity to be in an IB college-level course. 3 years before I retired, in a high school that served 1 out of every 4 students who were either poor or minority or both, every student was in an IB course. We did it, but we did it together. And finally, we found out how to make all mean all. I retired from the Rockville Center Schools in June 30th of 2020 and started my work in the Hempstead Public Schools on July 1st, 2020. I've been reminded of that time and again by my wife, Mary Ann. So much for retirement, right? At any rate, I'm a state monitor in the Hempstead Public Schools. The legislation was passed in 2020. The role of the monitor is a work in progress, but it's been again my honor and privilege to work in this capacity. In fact, I work directly for the Commissioner of Education and her staff. But interestingly enough, I am effectively a partner with a wonderful superintendent, again, having an opportunity to reaffirm what it means when we say all means all. Regina Armstrong of Hempstead, thank you so much for being a partner with me in this new project in my life. In short, the story of this old guy has an underlying theme to it. However we may define it, it's all about equity. It actually began in my childhood living room with a simple statement that you can't love them if you don't know them, and continued in my superintendency with a very simple phrase again, about all means all. It has been my life, not because I thought it nice and interesting, but it's a road that you and I must travel if we want the promise of this great democracy to become a reality. You and I must solve the equity problem. But I'm here to tell you today that it can be done, but not without the leadership that sits in this room. What I have come to grow and appreciate during the 34 years as superintendent in Rockville Center is that the promise of a better world tomorrow is not going to happen without us and without the leadership that you provide in your communities. 20 years ago, almost to the day, as Lorna had suggested, I was inaugurated as the president of this association. We were just then beginning to recover from 9/11, and today we are just now beginning to recover from wave 3 of this pandemic. As we were then, and you and I are now, the leaders to walk us out of this incredible crisis. The world was never the same after 9/11, and I suspect will never be the same after this pandemic. It was then and will be tomorrow your leadership that will make the difference in the world that our students will define and create. I did something in 2001 which I would like to repeat today. Long after my words and presidency in 2001 were forgotten, this gesture was not. It was done to celebrate the leadership that needed to move ahead. It may seem a little bit hokey, and I'll have a few words to say when we're done, but this day will be remembered. I would like to spend just a few minutes with you to sing with you one verse of God Bless America. If we could stand just for a moment. Pardon the voice. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. It is us. If I or we dreamt of a career where we could make a difference, this is that career. And that is why it is such an honor to be a part of you. This award, as I said before, is not about me, but about we. It is a great honor because of who you are. It finds its value in the work that you do every day in your districts, and for that reason I will be forever grateful and honored, not because of my distinguished service, but because of the distinguished service that you provide every day in all your districts and to the children you serve. From the deepest part of my heart, I thank you all, and all means all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My first year as a superintendent was 1996. I first met Bill Johnson in the early 2000s, and there are probably 5 superintendents that had come to my mind that I think of that when somebody told me I had to talk to them and meet them, that I was scared. One of them was when I was a student, and 4 of them when I was a new superintendent. As Bill said, though, to get to know someone is that's how you're able to love that person. And through the years, I got to tell you, Bill, you are truly loved by the NYSCA staff. When your name comes up, nothing but love comes up. So thank you for who you are.